Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, I wanted to go over my top 5 specializations for patch 9.1. There was a metric ton of information when it comes to patch 9.1, and I just wanted to summarize it, save you some time sifting through it, although I do have a link to the video with all of the patch notes if you would like to look at them more in detail and more as a whole. It's a very long video. This one's going to just be my top 5 specializations, what stood out to me, what do I think is going to be a lot of fun, what do I think is potentially going to be meta shifting in this patch. So if you're interested in picking up a new main or potentially an alt for patch 9.1 and you want to prepare ahead of time in the current patch for that, then this is going to provide you that type of information. So let's just jump into it. Coming in at number 5, we are going to have the Demonology Warlock, which might be a surprise to some. Demonology Warlock has kind of been unseen for most of Shadowlands, if not for a long time, maybe even since Legion. This one in particular, again, is going to be more focused to PvP. As their honor talents are the ones being addressed of most significance. So Fell Lord here is now getting a rearrange. Instead of it being based on your maximum health, it's just going to be 200% of your spell power, which then I would only assume is going to make it do a lot more damage because they're increasing the cooldown by 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So if Fell Lord is even doing comparable damage to what it was able to do in Legion, you could create this demon blender and get a protein shake out of your opponents in PvP. It was a really good time for a while, and then it just suddenly fell off, and the Fell Lord is just dying to random stuff, and it wasn't really that great. So I'm hoping that with this iteration, Fell Lord's going to make a return for Demonology Warlock, coupled with a new honor talent towards all Warlocks, the Shadow Rift. You will now have a 1-minute cooldown, 30-yard range. You'll conjure a Shadow Rift with a 10-yard radius at a target location, and it lasts 2 seconds. And if enemies don't get out of it before it ends after 2 seconds, they get teleported to your portal. This is a completely unique mechanic that's really never been seen in the game. It's an anti-pillaring mechanic, an anti-turtling mechanic, something that I was curious to see if they would ever add to the game, because a lot of teams in PvP, they just like hiding on the pillar. They like turtling all day. This may allow you to prevent enemies from doing that. Well, it definitely will. If you can suction them all together, pair up with a Frost Mage, you can teleport the entire enemy off their box and maybe to your port in the middle of the map. Drop a Fell Lord, drop a Vortex, again, create that Demon Blender, and you're going to have a lot of fun with this, especially in RPGs too. Being able to teleport a flag carrier potentially out of their room and somewhere else. You can tell your whole team a rogue to be waiting for it and then teleport him to the rogue, and the rogue can just take him out. This talent is insane when it comes to Warlock. But Demonology is still kind of questionable in terms of fitting into the meta, which is why it's only number 5. It's lacking some burst damage, but with some of the changes to Frost Mage to maybe shore up those weaknesses, it could become a meta spec, but it's definitely looking like more of a fun one, which is important to me. So number 5. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Destruction Warlock. The brother specialization, and this one in particular I think is going to be a bit more powerful than Demonology, and it's still going to have the same coupled honor talent Shadow Rift. So enemies running from your Dark Soul, enemies running from your Infernal, you can just pull them back in the middle of the map. Do note if you did that, you would be sacrificing your portal's positioning, but it could still be a lot of fun to do it just for fun. But more importantly here for Destruction is the relocation of your damage, the redistribution of your damage. Focused Chaos is being removed, but your Chaos Bolt is being just flat out buffed by a lot, and it will now be affected by Havoc, of course, because Focused Chaos prevented that, which will allow you to just send out double bolts all over the place. Chaos Bolt for everybody. It means just more damage flat out, and you'll be able to take the Shadow Rift talent, honor talent, without having to drop the Focused Chaos honor talent. So Destruction Warlock is already starting to establish itself a bit more in the meta, and I think with these changes for anti-turtling mechanics, anti-pillaring mechanics, and more importantly its synergies with other specializations that I expect to be strong, I think that it'll be more meta than Demonology. But if you're looking for some maybe unique flavor, Demonology might offer that more of that than Destruction, but I think Destruction would be more of a safe lock. in terms of a meta pick. So Destruction Warlock came in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we got the Frost Mage, and this is the spec that I was talking about. Everybody is going to be able to synergize with. So Frost Mage is receiving just the same kind of redistribution to its damage, specifically on its Frostbolt. So its Deep Shatter talent is now no longer going to be 150% increased Frostbolt damage on frozen targets, but rather your Frostbolt's just going to do 100% increased damage in PvP. So you're going to have a lot of modifiers with Ice Form that is going to allow your Frostbolts to just absolutely chunk people. There were buffs to the Cone of Cold talent, Burst of Cold as well, and I'm seeing this hitting 11,000 on the PTR. So Frost Mage is really getting its punch back here, and Kleptomania has interestingly been moved to Arcane only, which means that other Frost Mages can't totally bone you on your Ice Form or Combustion or whatever it may be. In this case, for Frost Mage, likely to be the Ice Form. You're going to have more guarantee of your cooldowns, which is going to allow you to do more damage overall in a fight. So I'm very interested to see how that meta plays out with Kleptomania having been removed. I feel like some mages think that it's just a very unfun mechanic. Kleptomania just removes everything, and then the entire game is just who's going to steal whose cooldowns the entire game, and you never really get your maximum potential of the specialization out. At the same time, you could argue that, hey, there's a little bit of a mind game being able to Kleptomania, but Arcane will still be able to do that. So, and Arcane is a bit of a sleeper spec. It could be good, just to talk about it a little bit. The main problems with Arcane, again, is having only one school of magic, being interrupted on that and shut down. But I'm seeing more and more Arcane on the current patch of the ladder. And with buffs to its Arcane Blasts, it's one that could be sleeper. It didn't make the list here for my top 5, but I just want to point out that I think Arcane could be sleeper. If you're a Fire Mage, yeah, good luck. Fire Mage is not going to be in the best spot, but this is the top 5 list, not the top 5 worst off, so we're not going to talk about Fire. Moving in here now, coming to number 2, we've got a healer, and we've got one that people probably forgot existed, and probably all got ghosted and never responded and deleted off their real IDs, and yeah, Mistweaver Monk. This is one that you're probably going to regret that now, because with the returning of Dematerialize, it's going to provide Mistweaver's damage reduction while stunned, and they now will have Eminence, the PvP talent, redesigned to allow them to cast their portal while they're stunned. So if you were worried about dying in stuns, the main weakness of the Mistweaver Monk, I think it's doubtful that you're going to be dying anytime soon in stuns with this plethora of honor talents being added to your toolkit. And with that change, you're already a solid throughput healer with decent mana efficiency. With this now preventing that major weakness to your specialization, Mistweaver is going to be a lot more desirable. Imagine Demonology Warlock, Frost Mage, Mistweaver, Destruction, Frost Mage, Mistweaver. I could see these being very powerful compositions to pull out of your pocket if you're wanting to try something different for patch 9.1, or if you just got really frustrated with your Mistweaver Monk recently, shelf it, come back to it in 9.1, and it's probably going to be a refreshing breeze. Okay, there's a little bit of a pun intended with that, with one of their other honor talents being added, but the main ones that stood out to me so far were Dematerialize and Eminence, and Mistweaver could be a very meta healer, maybe even the best healer, with these changes and improvements to the specialization. Now, my number one specialization to check out in 9.1 is interesting because it's only having one real change being done to it. But with that change, I think it could absolutely crush everybody and be a really good time. So coming in here at my number one specialization, we're going to be looking at the Assassination Rogue. Yeah, there's only one change that is notable to me, which is the Hemotoxin. Shiv will now also reduce the target's healing by 40% for 9 seconds. So a sharpened blade mechanic with a much longer duration. So going for a kidney shot, Hemotoxin Shiv to reduce incoming healing with a Frost Mage. I'm anticipating like Resto Druid, Frost Mage, Assassination Rogue, maybe even potentially some Warlock, although protecting the Warlock as an Assassination Rogue could be difficult. I'm thinking more Mage Rogue as a return, that Rogue Mage Druid classic. But with this one honor talent alone, Assassination Rogue is going to be a very overwhelming specialization. It's already been receiving buff after buff after buff after buff throughout 9.0 and 9.0.5, and Subtlety has been falling off. quite a lot with nerf after nerf. It's still likely to be that rogue mage priest specialization for subtlety, but your flexibility is going to be limited to pretty much that. Whereas assassination is likely going to be a spec that can play with shadow priests, mages. It's going to have a lot of flexibility. It's going to be a real trucking specialization. It's going to be very powerful, I think, with a lot of damage, and now this additional healing reduction. I think it's going to be very powerful. Maybe not the most exciting in terms of changes towards assassination rogues as opposed to the other specializations if you're more interested in picking up something for fun, but if you're picking up something in terms of just raw power, I think the assassination rogue could come to the forefront as one of the best melee DPS for patch 9.1. So I hope that you enjoyed my list here. If you did, please leave the video with a thumbs up. Comment down below with your thoughts on 9.1. What are you most excited about? I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure everybody else would as well, to get some ideas going forward on what we can all look into trying. Other than that, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. It just lets you know when my videos go live. I'm going to be providing updates towards World of Warcraft and World of Warcraft Classic as well. So if that type of content interests you and you want to kind of just be right up at the front, knowing what's coming live and what's important and what to pay attention to, then this is going to be the place to be. And by hitting that subscribe button, you'll just be notified ahead of everybody else. And other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one.